Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give Kal Halal Yahweh by Hashem Hamashiach Yahushai. That is to say, all praise to Yahweh in the name of the anointed Yahushai. Yahweh being the name of the Heavenly Father, Yahushai being the name of the man that the world ignorantly calls Jesus. It's another Friday breakdown. It's going to have to be a quick one, just like the Back to Basics had to be a quick one, because it's running late and I'm not at home right now. I'm actually out in a hotel. So I'm traveling right now. Well, not traveling around, but I'm not at home. I'm away from home. It's the Sabbath, so we are chilling. But it's not going to be a long, big, in-depth breakdown. The topic we're going to go over is it's not deep. Lord willing, I would like to take my time with it in future, go more in-depth. But as you can see from the title, what it's probably going to be is, who was the book of Romans written to? Partly inspired also by a comment. Now, I don't really want to deal with comments these days because, well, I already tried to refrain myself from dealing with the scoffers because it's always fruitless. You can't give these breakdowns in a comment, in 5 comments. And it's a back and forth, and they don't understand, and they start chatting rubbish. So I'm just probably going to try not to engage in them. I was thinking about making a video addressing comments every now and then, but there's no point. Don't feed the trolls, man. That's what they say, innit? Don't feed them. Let them do their thing. Let them scoff. We know the doctrine. If anybody sees a comment who doesn't have high understanding, come and ask me. I'll put a comment saying, like a reply to the comment or something saying, hey, can you explain this in the video, or give me your email or something. I don't know. And if I have understanding, then I will let you know. Let's bookmark this. Get straight back to it then. If I have understanding, then I will let you know. But just remember, a lot of the times when it appears like these Christianity people are saying something, and especially when they go to Paul and it might look a certain way, just the way that I used to deal with Paul before I understood what he was saying, when I didn't understand Paul and I heard them bringing out scriptures, I just didn't let it destroy me. I always had all praises to the Most High God, Yahweh B'Shem HaMashiach Yahushai. I had strong enough faith that he gave me to just think in my head like, look, yeah, it looks like they're saying this, but I know there's an answer. I know there's an explanation. And, all praise to the Most High for endurance and studying. I understand a lot of Paul now, right? I know what he's going into. I know what he's talking about. At the time when I didn't let it destroy me. I just thought in my head, there is an answer, there is an explanation. And now I see those answers and I see those explanations, and it's like, damn, if I just let this destroy me, or if the Most High had given me over to this nonsense, I would have been fully believing that what they say it means is what it means. But because he gave me the faith to just I can't break it down, I can't understand it, but I know there's an explanation. Through enduring like that, eventually I know the explanation now, which is a blessing. So if you're in that position where it looks like, but Paul said this, and it kind of looks, this Christian said that it means this, hey, don't let anyone judge you on Sabbath days and meats and drinks and new moons, and it's kind of looking like we don't have to keep the holy days. It's kind of looking like we can eat what we want. No, it's not what it's saying. Have the faith to know that there is an explanation, and don't just take it at face value, because that's what they do and that's where they err, right? I'm not even going to bring out 2 Peter, but we always do, because it says, as they do the other scriptures unto their own destruction, right? They misinterpret these scriptures to their own destruction, because now they think, hey, you can eat pork. Guess what? You're going to be destroyed, just like it says in Isaiah. I'll bookmark this too, because I want to come back here. I said this one's going to be a long one. I'm going to try not to make it a long one, but it's like when the Spirit starts moving you, it's like you got to bring it out for real. Isaiah chapter 66, I think. I'm pretty sure. Isaiah 66. verse 16. Isaiah chapter 66, verse 16. It says, for by fire and by his word and by his sword will the Lord plead with all flesh. It doesn't mean plead doesn't mean like, oh, please. No, it means he's going to deal with you, right? And the slain of the Lord shall be many. So he's saying by his sword, by fire and his sword will the Lord plead with all flesh. He's going to deal with all flesh by fire and his sword, and the slain of the Lord shall be many. Now it says all flesh. Remember, first of all, we're trying to be spiritual, not in the flesh. So that's one thing. That's how we're not going to be dealt with by fire and sword. But we are kind of going to be dealt with by sword anyway, because we get cut by the sword, which is the word, and then we correct ourselves. So he corrects us. So he's still dealing with us with the sword, just in a different manner to how he's going to deal with them, with the slain of the Lord, which shall be many. So he's going to deal with all flesh with the fire too, because the fire purges out impurities. So if you are the impurity, you're going to be purged out. But if you have impurities, the fire of the word is going to purge them out, right? Same thing with the sword. The sword's going to cut you. You're either going to bleed out and die, or it's going to heal you, right? And you're going to go under correction when you get cut. Hey, you shouldn't break the Sabbath day. That's a cut. I do that. Well, guess what? Now you don't. Or now you think, you can't judge me. And you carry on in that, and now you're destroyed. So he's going to plead with all flesh by fire and sword, right? It says, but the slain of the Lord shall be many, right? And the slain of the Lord shall be many. Verse 17, they that sanctify themselves, as in sanctify is to set apart. They set themselves apart. They set themselves apart. They claim that they are holy. Right? It says, they that sanctify themselves and purify themselves in the gardens behind one tree in the midst, eating swine's flesh, and the abomination and the mouse shall be consumed together, saith the Lord. So guess what? You misinterpreted the scriptures. You wrestled with the scriptures because you were unlearned, right? And unstable. And now it's to your own destruction because you're deciding to eat swine's flesh and the abomination because you thought you could eat all things. But anyway, getting back to this point, if you do see something in the comments, because I'm not going to be addressing these comments, man. I'm just not going to do this no more time, because it is just fruitless. But if you do see something and you want to ask about it, by all means go ahead, and if I have understanding, I will answer, right? It says, Sirach chapter 5 verse 12, if thou hast understanding, answer thy neighbour. If not, lay thy hand upon thy mouth. So if I have understanding, I'll answer you. If I don't, I'll lay my hand on my mouth. Lord willing, I'll study it and I'll come back to you. But all I can say is just study the sound doctrine and look for the answer. But the best way to do it, and this is what the mighty brother, Officer Mahar over in SOJ Tulsa, he told me a long time ago, not a super long time ago, but a good while ago, while I was studying hard. And really, you can ask that brother, man. You can ask that brother how inquisitive I was, how eager I was to learn this thing, man. He said to me, bro, just slow down. You can't eat the whole meal at once. You gotta take your time, digest it. But all these questions that you have, over the process of time, will be answered. And he knows that because he's been through the same thing, man. So he said, he's talking from experience. He says, these questions you have, they will be answered. Just basically, what it boils down to is keep studying the law, keep the faith, keep the law, obviously, and and stay studying, man. And it's that simple. You're gonna get built up, right? You just gotta stay in this thing. You gotta endure, and you gotta. The way I see it, every time you win a spiritual fight, you get an increase, right? So just keep winning spiritual fights, man. And sometimes we do fall, and it happens, but you gotta do your best not to fall as much as possible. And I'm not giving you an excuse saying, oh yeah, but I can fall sometimes. No, you can't have that mindset. You gotta think, I can't fall. And if you do fall, not as in you aren't able to fall, but you gotta think, I cannot let myself slip. And yeah, it's gonna happen, but don't let that be your crutch. Oh, it's gonna happen, so I might as well do it. No, that's off. But when you do slip, get back up, man. And then trust me, every spiritual win is an increase, right? But let's get to the point. Let's get the opening precepts. I know I've already gone over some precepts, but getting into the lesson now. We're going to deal with the opening precepts set for this series. One of those being Proverbs, chapter 25. verse 2, which says, "It is the glory of God to conceal a thing, but the honor of kings is to search out a matter." So it's God's glory to conceal a thing. These issues are concealed, man. It's all a mystery. The Bible is full of mystery, right? Things that have been concealed by God, right? These breakdowns, well, guess what? We have to break them down because they've been built up and shell. There's like a shell around them that you got to break down, right? So this is how the Most High conceals a matter. Conceals things, but it's our honor as kings to search out a matter. It's our honor to get these breakdowns, to learn these things, and to search out the matter and figure out what's going on, right? Not like Christianity where they just read it and say, it means what it says. No, because it's not saying what you think it's saying, right? Next, I want to get Deuteronomy chapter 29, verse 29. Says, "The secret things belong unto the Lord our God, but those things which are revealed belong unto us and to our children forever, that we may do all the words of this law." So the secret things, they belong to him. He created them. They are his. They are his secret things. But it says that the revealing, the things which are revealed, these secret things that get revealed, that belongs to us because it's been revealed to us. So these breakdowns belong to us. The thing itself is the Most High's, of course, but the breakdown is ours. He gave it to us, right? So I'm getting into these breakdowns. Let's go to Romans chapter 1, and let's see a bit of crash course, because like I say, we could go more in depth on this, and Lord willing, one day soon we will. Let's see who the book of Romans was written to. Now, some of the notes I have on Romans chapter 1 on this page, it says, "To be a Roman was to be a citizen of Rome." That's what it means. To be a Roman doesn't mean to be an Edomite, right? That's not an interchangeable term. You can't say that Roman means Edomite. Yes, the country of Rome and the society and kingdom of Rome was an Edomite kingdom, yes. But the nationality is Edomite. Roman is just his citizenship. For example, you could have a damn Arab man and a Chinese man stood here. Both of them born and raised in Britain. They are both British. Both of them. They were born here. They were raised here. This Chinese man and this Arab man are both British. Because what? They're British citizens. But because they're both British, are they the same people? No, this man's Chinese and this man's an Arab. Right? Or I know some scoffers are going to be like, no, but they're English now because they were born. I don't mean as in they were born in China. No, what I'm saying is he's of Chinese heritage, he's of Arab heritage. He's a Moabite, he's an Ishmaelite, but they're both British. So Roman doesn't mean that you're an Edomite. There are Roman Edomites. There are Roman Israelites. There was probably like Roman Elamites. There were different people. And it was a citizenship, which was something you could buy, which is what we're going to get into later. Right? You can either be born a Roman citizen or you can buy citizenship, right? Roman citizenship was a status. It was a status, okay? It wasn't a nationality. This epistle was not written to Edomites, okay? So let's get the first of it all. Romans chapter 1, verse 1. "Paul, a servant of Yahushua HaMashiach, called to be an apostle, separated unto the gospel of God," right? What's the gospel of God? Let's go deal with that. Right? It says, "which he had promised afore by his prophets in the Holy Scriptures." So we're going to go to a prophet that prophesied the promise from God about this gospel. Now, one thing that you need to understand about gospel, it means good news. That's what the word gospel means. It means good news, right? Good tidings also means good news. A good tiding is good news. If I bring good tidings, I'm bringing good news. The gospel is good news, right? So that's the verbiage. So it says the gospel of God. Let's see what the gospel is. Let's go and have a look at what the gospel is. Let's go to Isaiah chapter 61. Right? Isaiah chapter 61. Salakia. Isaiah chapter 61, verse 1. The Spirit of the Lord God is upon me, because the Lord hath anointed me to preach good tidings, good news, gospel, unto the meek. He hath sent me to bind up the brokenhearted, to proclaim liberty to the captives, and the opening of the prison to them that are bound, to proclaim the acceptable year of the Lord, and the day of vengeance of our God, to comfort all that mourn. Now, who are the brokenhearted? Who are the captives? Right? Who's bound? Israel. Yasharallah, no one else. That's who the brokenhearted is, collectively. No nation is brokenhearted like that. They have their own damn countries. They have their own sort of systems in place, right? They have their own currencies. They have all this stuff. We don't have our own countries and stuff. Our countries are all ruled by other people, right? Even our own countries. You could go to Jamaica. Well, guess what? The people who run Jamaica are the white damn Edomites, right? All the countries in West Africa, all run by different nations, right? It says, verse 3, to appoint unto them that mourn in Zion, to give unto them beauty for ashes, and oil, the oil of joy for mourning, the garment of praise for the spirit of heaviness, that they might be called trees of righteousness, the planting of the Lord, that he might be glorified. So who is the gospel for? All that mourn in Zion. The gospel is for, who's Zion? The Israelites. So the gospel is for the Israelites. So when Paul says in Romans chapter 1, verse 2, verse 1, Paul, a servant of Yahushua HaMashiach, called to be an apostle, separated unto the gospel of God. What's the gospel of God? It is it is for Zion. It is for Zion. It's for the Israelites. So when Paul's talking about this, he's talking about the good news for the Israelites, right? Let's jump to verse 3. Let's jump to verse. Let's get straight into it. Verse 5. By who? I'll just read verse 4 for context. And declared. We'll read verse 3. Concerning his son Yahushua HaMashiach, our Lord, which was made of the seed of David, according to the flesh, and declared to be the Son of God with power, according to the Spirit of holiness, by the resurrection from the dead, by whom we have received grace and apostleship for obedience to the faith among all nations for his name. So it's not for all nations, it's among all nations, right? Why have we received grace and apostleship? For our obedience. Cool. For our obedience, right, to the faith among all nations. Why is it among all nations and not for all nations? Because, let me get the book of Zechariah. Damn, I went way too far. The book of Zechariah. Chapter 7, verse 14. But I scattered them with a whirlwind among all the nations. So why are we obedient to the faith among all nations? Because we are scattered among all the nations, right? So who received grace and apostleship for obedience to the faith? The Israelites. Why? Because they did this among all the nations, and they were scattered among all the nations, right? Verse 6, Romans chapter 1, verse 6. Among whom ye are also the called of Yahushua HaMashiach. The called, right? Let me start with Deuteronomy chapter 4, verse 17. Deuteronomy chapter 4, verse 17. Select it. No, 27, my bad. It says, and the Lord shall scatter you among the nations. There you go. And ye shall be left few in number among the heathen, whither the Lord shall lead you. So like that was a precept for a different that was a precept for before, my bad. But that goes along with that among all nations, right? Because that's where we are, we're among them. Right? But let me go to 2 Peter chapter 2, verse 9. Salakia. 2 Peter chapter 2, verse 9. First Peter chapter 2, verse 9. It says, but ye are a chosen generation, a royal priesthood, an holy nation, a peculiar people, that ye should shew forth the praises of him who have called you out of darkness into his marvelous light. What did he say in Romans chapter 1, verse 6? He said, among whom are ye also the called of Yahushua HaMashiach, right? They're called, the people who were called, right? Once again, 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 9, but ye are a chosen generation, a royal priesthood, an holy nation, a peculiar people, that ye should shew forth the praises of him who hath called you. So who is called? The same people in Romans 1, same people in 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 9. Let's see who's talking about in 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 9, right? But ye are a chosen generation, a royal priesthood, and holy nation. Who's a holy nation? Let's get the classic. Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 6. It says an holy nation, not unholy Christianity, not a holy mix of people, an holy nation. Who's the holy nation? Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 6. For thou art an holy people unto the Lord thy God. The Lord thy God hath chosen thee to be a special people unto himself above all people that are upon the face of the earth. So he said, for thou art an holy people. The holy people or the holy nation is Israel. So who is the called in 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 9? Israel. Who is the called in Romans chapter 1, verse 6? Israel, right? Let me just grab Wisdom of Solomon chapter 17. Wisdom of Solomon chapter 17. Right? Wisdom of Solomon chapter 17, verse 2. For when unrighteous men thought to oppress the holy nation, they being shut up in their houses, the prisoners of darkness, and fettered with the bonds of a long night, lay there exiled from the external providence. So if you know anything about Wisdom of Solomon chapter 17, it's talking about the plague of darkness that the Egyptians went through, the 10th plague. Salakia. The context is it's talking about the 10th plague, and Solomon is detailing, because we read, darkness that might be felt, but we don't know what that really looks like. Solomon gives us the breakdown and details what it looked like for them. It was horrifying, right? It wasn't just like, it was a bit dark, like, have you ever seen, what's that movie called? Is it like Prince of Egypt? I think it is, isn't it? A lot of movies depict it anyway, and they don't make it complete, like, pitch black, like, absolute nothing, darkness. It's just like the land is dark and there's no sun, and it's a bit like, when you walk around at night and you can kind of see. No, you read this chapter, it will tell you they couldn't see anything. They could hold their hand this close to their face and it would just be pitch black, nothing. It talks about them trying to light a fire. You hear the fire flickering, you know there's a fire there, you still can't see nothing. It doesn't give you any light. That's how terrible that was, right? But the point being, it's talking about when the Egyptians tried to oppress the holy nation. So who were the Egyptians oppressing? That when this darkness fell on them? The Israelites. So who is the holy nation? The Israelites. Let's go back to 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 9. But ye are a chosen generation, a royal priesthood, and holy nation. Right? It says a peculiar people. Who's the peculiar people? Let's get Deuteronomy chapter 14, verse 2. Right? Deuteronomy 14, 2. Deuteronomy chapter 14, verse 2. For thou art an holy people unto the Lord thy God, and the Lord hath chosen thee to be a peculiar people unto himself above all the nations that are upon the earth, right? A peculiar people, right? So what did it say in 1 Peter 2 and 9? It said, a peculiar people. Let me get Deuteronomy chapter 26, verse 18. It says, and the Lord hath avouched thee this day to be his peculiar people, as he hath promised thee, and that thou shouldest keep all his commandments. This is talking to Israel. If you know anything about Deuteronomy, you can read Deuteronomy 1 and 1. It's all the words that Moses spake unto Israel. So who's the peculiar people? Israel. Let me get Titus chapter 2:14. Get Titus. Chapter 2, verse 14. Who gave himself for us that he might redeem us from all iniquity and purify unto himself a peculiar people, zealous of good works, right? So Israel, the peculiar people. Who did Christ die for? Israel. Right, so that's enough on 1 Peter. We've got that point now. Yeah. Romans chapter 1, verse 7. To all that be in Rome, beloved of God, called to be saints. So it's talking about all that be in Rome. Right? This is talking about all the Israelites that are in Rome. Because if we go to Acts chapter 2, verse 5, says, and there were dwelling at Jerusalem Jews, devout men out of every nation under heaven. So the Jews were in every nation under heaven, right? Right. So if we go to verse 10, it says Phrygia. It goes on to list some nations where the Jews were coming out from. Verse 10 says Phrygia and Pamphylia in Egypt, and in the parts of Libya about Cyrene, and strangers of Rome, Jews and proselytes. Now, proselytes doesn't mean someone who's from a different nation who's come in. It means someone who's had their mind changed. They were keeping Roman customs or Greek customs or whatever customs. They've had their mind changed, and now they're keeping their own customs, the Israelite customs. But it said strangers of Rome. So there were Jews that were in Rome. What else can we get that from? We can get that from Acts chapter 18. Acts chapter 18. Talking about Aquila and Priscilla. Acts chapter 18, verse 1. After these things, Paul departed from Athens and came to Corinth, and found a certain Jew named Aquila, born in Pontus, lately come from Italy, with his wife Priscilla, because that Claudius had commanded all Jews to depart from Rome, and came unto them. Now, if you know anything about history, yes, the Jews were commanded to depart from Rome, but they were also allowed to come back, right? So when Paul's writing this letter to all that be in Rome, it's the Jews that are in Rome, right? It says, beloved, so like it first, the book of Romans, chapter 1, verse 7, to all that be in Rome, beloved of God. Now, who's the beloved of God? Let's go to Jeremiah, chapter 11. Let's find out who the beloved of God is. Jeremiah, chapter 11. I believe we're going to start at verse 13. Jeremiah chapter 11, verse 13. For according to the number of thy cities were thy gods, O Judah, and according to the number of the streets of Jerusalem have ye set up altars to that shameful thing, even altars to burn incense unto Baal. Right, so the subject here is Judah, Jerusalem. Guess who that is? The Israelites. It says, therefore pray not thou for this people, neither lift up a cry or prayer for them, for I will not hear them in the time that they cry unto me for their trouble. It says, what hath my beloved to do in mine house? Right? So who is the beloved? Right? Well, the subject here is Judah, Jerusalem. Who's that? Israelites. So the beloved is the Israelites. Jump to verse 17. For the Lord of hosts that planted thee hath pronounced evil against thee, for the evil of the house of Israel and of the house of Judah. So who's the beloved? Israel and Judah. Right? So when it says in Romans chapter 1, verse 7, to all that be in Rome, beloved of God, it's talking about the Israelites in Rome. right? Called to be saints. Now, who was called to be saints? Let's get Psalms chapter 5. Salakia, chapter 50. Psalms chapter 50. Who was called to be saints? Psalms chapter 50, verse 2. Out of Zion, the perfection of beauty, God hath shined. Right? Who's Zion? The Israelites. Jump to verse 4. He shall call to the heaven from above, and to the earth, that he may judge his people. Who's his people? The Israelites. Verse 5. Gather my saints together unto me, those that have made a covenant with me by sacrifice. Who made a covenant with him by sacrifice? The Israelites, right? Let's get Exodus chapter 24, verse 7. Let's get Exodus chapter 24, verse 7, right? What's this? And he took the book of the covenant and read in the audience of the people, and they said, all that the Lord hath said we will do, and be obedient. And Moses took the blood and sprinkled it on the people, and said, behold, the blood of the covenant which the Lord hath made with you concerning all these words. So Moses sprinkled the blood on the Israelites to make the covenant. What did it say? Psalm chapter 50, verse 5. Gather my saints together unto me, those that have made a covenant with me by sacrifice. How do you get the blood to sprinkle on them to make this covenant? By sacrifice. So the saints are the Israelites. Let's get Psalms chapter 138. Psalm 138, verse 14. 148, Salakia, verse 14. He also exalteth the horn of his people, that praise of all his saints, even of the children of Israel, a people near unto him. Praise ye the Lord. So who are the saints? Israel. It's plain upon tables, right? Okay. I believe we're done with that portion. So now, let's deal with something else. Okay, let's deal with something else. Romans 9 is a whole breakdown in itself. We might just save that for another breakdown, Friday breakdown. We're already half an hour in. I said this was going to be a short one, but it even turned out to be a short one. But hey, it can only be as short as it can be. It's a deep breakdown, like I say. Be more in depth another time. Really go in on this thing, but that's just a crash course. So that stupid comment talking about the Jew, then the Greek, and the da 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 da, and the what did he read? He read Romans. He read something in Romans. Which verse in Romans did he read? Did he bring out and misuse? Romans chapter 1, verse 16. For I am not ashamed of the gospel of Christ. What was the gospel? We established that is for the Israelites. Good news for the Israelites. For it is the power of God unto salvation to everyone that believeth, to the Jew first, and also to the Greek, right? Once again, being Greek is not interchangeable with being an Edomite. Same way, you can have a Chinese man and an Arab man, and a Japanese man and an African man, and they can all be born in Britain. They are British, all of them, but they're not all the same people. Same way you can be born in Greece, but you're not the same people. I was going to get into Roman citizenship. That's one thing that we've got to cover real quick. Right, because watch this. Watch this. You can't say, the same thing goes for Greeks, but you can't say that Roman means Edomite. Because let's get Romans chapter 11, verse 1. It says, I say then, hath God cast away his people? This is Paul speaking. God forbid, for I also am an Israelite of the seed of Abraham, of the tribe of Benjamin. Paul just said that he was an Israelite. Out of Paul's own mouth, he said, I am an Israelite. Right? Let's go to Acts. The book of Acts. chapter 22, verse 24. The chief captain commanded him to be brought into the castle, this is after Paul's been arrested, and bade that he should be examined by scourging, that he might know wherefore they cried so against him. And as they bound him with thongs, Paul said unto the centurion that stood by, Is it lawful for you to scourge a man that is a Roman and uncondemned? Why did he ask him this question? First of all, scourge means to whip or beat, right? So Paul said to this centurion, is it lawful under Roman law, not Torah law? He said, is it lawful, as in under Roman law? Is it not illegal? Is it a legal thing for you to whip or beat a Roman that has not been stood trial yet? And basically, what he's saying, that's what it means. So basically, this, for cultural context's sake, a law in Rome was if you were a Roman citizen, you had to stand trial before they were allowed to beat you or whip you. It was unlawful for them to whip or beat a Roman citizen that had not stood trial, right? If you were a non-Roman citizen, then they could have free reign and do what they want. They could beat you, they could beat the daylights out of you before you stood trial. For example, Yahushua HaMashiach, they beat him before he stood trial because he was not a Roman citizen. He was born in Israel, right? Paul was born in a Roman province, was born a Roman citizen, Salakia. So he was a Roman citizen. He was a Roman, right? So that's why he's asking him, is it lawful for you to beat me or whip me? To whip or beat a Roman that's not stood trial yet? Let's read on. He says, verse 26, when the centurion heard that, he went and told the chief captain, saying, take heed what thou doest, for this man is a Roman. Then the chief captain came and said unto him, tell me, art thou a Roman? He said, yea. So Paul just said he was a Roman, but hold on. In Romans chapter 11, verse 1, he said that he's an Israelite. So what is he, an Edomite or an Israelite? Well, he's an Israelite, but he's also a Roman. Because what was Paul? A Roman citizen. So the Jew first, then the Greek. Ooh, it's just Greek citizens, dummy. Right? There's comments like that is so ignorant. This is why the one thing that I replied to him, one thing that I said in 2024, there is no excuse to not know this, right? Yeah, you might be fresh on the scene, but this understanding, this knowledge, it's not a million miles away. This can be a day one breakdown if you search it, right? So at the end of the day, I'm not going to say a day one breakdown, but in 2024, there's no excuse for saying stupid stuff like that. Trying to claim that a Greek means you're an Edomite. No. Israelites can be Greeks too. Or could be Greeks. But verse 28 says, and the chief captain answered, with a great sum obtained I this freedom. And Paul said, but I was freeborn. So the deal here is Paul was born a Roman, but you could also buy Roman citizenship, which would give you certain benefits like not being whipped or beaten without standing trial. Amongst many other benefits. It was beneficial to be a Roman citizen in the Roman kingdom, because another thing was you got to appeal to Caesar. That's what Paul did. He appealed to Caesar. That's another benefit. There's all kinds of benefits for being a Roman citizen. So you could buy that because it was a status symbol. You could buy that with a great sum of money. Paul was born a Roman. He was free-born. He was born as a Roman. He didn't need to buy it. But the chief captain had to buy it. But anyway, that's that. That's enough said. Lord willing, someone was edified. With that, we're going to give Kal Halal Yahweh Ba'Hashem HaMashiach Yahweh Shai. Shalom.